Cogent. Adjective. Clear, logical, and convincing. Her cogent explanation cut through the confusion in the committee room, and even the members who had arrived ready to object found themselves nodding over their notes. Poised. Adjective. Calm and ready, with controlled confidence. She stood poised at the edge of the stage curtain, listening to the audience settle while the brass handles of the old doors gleamed under the house lights. Measured. Adjective. Careful and controlled rather than rushed or emotional. He gave a measured reply to the criticism, resting both hands on the table and choosing each word as if it might tilt the room. Worldly. Adjective. Experienced and familiar with life beyond a narrow setting. Her worldly manner came not from showiness but from years of train stations, borrowed apartments, and dinners where she learned to listen before speaking. Tactile. Adjective. Related to the sense of touch in a noticeable way. The artist wanted the book to feel tactile, so she chose rough paper, stitched binding, and a cloth cover that warmed quickly in the hand. Exacting. Adjective. Demanding great care, skill, or effort. Restoring the clock was exacting work, and he bent for hours over the brass gears while afternoon light crept across the bench. Amiable. Adjective. Pleasant and easy to like. The new neighbor seemed amiable from the start, pausing in the stairwell with a bag of oranges and asking whether the heat had finally come on. Reserved. Adjective. Quiet and restrained in showing feelings. Though reserved at first, she gradually joined the conversation, and by dessert she was telling a dry story that made the whole table laugh. Daunting. Adjective. Seeming difficult enough to inspire fear or hesitation. The stack of unsorted letters looked daunting on the first morning, yet by noon she had opened the windows and made a calm system of piles and string. Abiding. Adjective. Continuing for a long time without fading. His abiding affection for the old house showed in small repairs, polished banisters, and the way he still paused to admire the apple tree each spring. Lithe. Adjective. Moving with easy grace and flexibility. The lithe cat slipped between flower pots on the wall, tail raised high as evening light thinned over the garden path. Supple. Adjective. Bending or adapting easily without breaking. Years of use had made the leather gloves supple, and they folded softly in her lap as the bus rolled out past the dark fields. Refined. Adjective. Made more polished, elegant, or precise. The sauce had a refined balance of smoke and sweetness, and the chef tasted it twice before carrying the pan into the bright, noisy dining room. Gracious. Adjective. Kind and considerate in manner. She was gracious with every guest, guiding wet coats to hooks and somehow making a crowded hallway feel orderly and warm. Amicable. Adjective. Characterized by goodwill and a lack of hostility. Their separation was amicable in the end, and they divided the books in quiet conversation while dust drifted through the afternoon sun. Buoyant. Adjective. Light, cheerful, and able to rise above strain. After the good news, his mood stayed buoyant all day, and even the delayed train felt like a minor inconvenience in the clear winter light. Earnest. Adjective. Sincere and serious in intention. He made an earnest attempt to apologize, standing bareheaded on the porch while the screen door tapped softly in the wind behind him. Shrewd. Adjective. Showing sharp judgment and practical intelligence. Her shrewd reading of the contract saved them trouble later because she noticed the vague clause everyone else had skimmed past. Tractable. Adjective. Easy to manage or bring under control. Once the engine warmed, the tractor became tractable, and the rows straightened under a pale sky that promised more rain by evening. Lingering. Adjective. Staying longer than expected before fading. A lingering smell of cedar remained in the attic, and it made the dusty trunks seem less abandoned than the dim rafters suggested. Adept. Adjective. Very skilled at doing something. He was adept at easing tension in a meeting, often by asking one plain question that returned everyone to the actual problem. Fleeting. Adjective. Lasting for only a short time. The sun broke through in a fleeting burst across the harbor, turning the wet ropes gold before the clouds gathered themselves again. Composed. Adjective. Calm and self-controlled, especially under strain. She remained composed during the outage, lighting candles one by one and reading instructions aloud while the storm pressed at the shutters. Perceptive. Adjective. Quick to notice and understand subtle things. His perceptive comment about the silence in the room mattered more than the official report, because it named what everyone had felt but not said. Guarded. Adjective. Careful about revealing thoughts or feelings. Her answers stayed guarded at first, and only when the cafe emptied did she begin to speak more freely over the cooling cups. Civic. Adjective. Relating to a city, its people, or public life. The mural became a point of civic pride, and schoolchildren stopped beneath it each morning as buses sighed at the curb. Stoical. Adjective. Enduring difficulty without outward complaint. He sat through the long delay with a stoical patience, hat in his lap and boots darkened by the slush he had tracked in from the platform. Receptive. Adjective. Willing to consider new ideas or suggestions. The editor was receptive to revision, moving pages around on the desk and inviting sharper arguments rather than defending every first draft. Assured. Adjective. Confident and free from hesitation. Her assured voice carried across the courtyard, steady enough that even the workers on the upper scaffold paused to listen. Deliberative. Adjective. Careful and slow in considering choices. The panel took a deliberative approach to the decision, reading each proposal twice while twilight deepened beyond the library windows. Pliable. Adjective. Easily bent or shaped, either physically or mentally. The dough was finally pliable beneath his palms, and the flour on the board caught the slanting kitchen light like blown snow. Mellow. Adjective. Soft, warm, and pleasantly gentle in mood or sound. By late evening the trumpet had taken on a mellow tone, drifting through the open hall and settling softly among the folded chairs. Fervent. Adjective. Showing strong and heartfelt feeling. She gave a fervent defense of the local clinic, her voice low but steady as the waiting room filled with the rustle of winter coats. Canny. Adjective. Clever in a practical and alert way. The shopkeeper made a canny decision to set the baskets by the door, where the smell of bread reached people before they saw the prices. Staid. Adjective. Sober and serious in a way that seems restrained. The lecture hall looked staid in the morning light, rows of dark seats waiting under a ceiling fan that turned with slow authority. Venerable. Adjective. Deserving respect because of age, wisdom, or history. The venerable courthouse stood above the square with weathered steps and tall windows that reflected the market tents below. Dutiful. Adjective. Willing to do what is expected with steady care. Her dutiful weekly visits never felt mechanical, and she always brought fresh flowers or a newspaper folded to the crossword. Acrid. Adjective. Having a sharp smell or taste that stings. An acrid smell rose from the burnt toast, and they flung open the kitchen window while the smoke drifted toward the bare branches outside. Methodical. Adjective. Done in an orderly and careful way. His methodical search of the workshop turned up the missing screw at last, gleaming beside a jar of nails under the back shelf. Turbulent. Adjective. Full of disorder, strong motion, or emotional unrest. The flight turned turbulent over the mountains, and loose cups rattled on the trays while clouds closed around the wing. Belated. Adjective. Happening later than it should have. Her belated thank you note arrived with pressed fern leaves inside, and the delay somehow made the gesture feel more thoughtful than hurried. Vigorous. Adjective. Full of strong, energetic action. After a week of rain, the garden responded with vigorous growth, beans climbing their poles and mint pushing insistently at the path stones. Seasoned. Adjective. Made skilled or balanced through long experience. The seasoned reporter knew when to stop asking and listen, so the most important detail often arrived in the quiet that followed. Subdued. Adjective. Quieter or less intense than usual. The celebration felt subdued after the long season, and people spoke in soft clusters beneath strings of lights that trembled in the breeze. Hearten. Verb. To give someone more hope or confidence. The first clear headline seemed to hearten the volunteers, and they straightened their backs over the folding tables as the sun came through the gym windows. Decisive. Adjective. Settling an issue clearly and without doubt. Her decisive move to close the road early kept the valley safe, though the river was still only a dark rumor beyond the trees. Intentional. Adjective. Done on purpose with clear thought behind it. Every object in the small apartment felt intentional, from the single blue vase to the chair angled perfectly for the late afternoon light. That's everything for this session. If this helped you, subscribe for more. See you next time.